Live from the Student Union on campus, this is Goldmine Live. Your weekly all-access pass inside Charlotte Athletics is brought to you by Ortho Carolina. Proud to present the 2018 Charlotte 49ers football season. Bojangles, it's bow time. Harris Teeter, where 49ers fans shop for groceries. University Eye Associates, excellence is eye care. And by Wells Fargo. Charlotte 49er fans, show your pride with a customized Wells Fargo debit card. Stop by your nearest Wells Fargo or visit Wells Fargo Car Design Studio online to learn more. Now, here's your host, the voice of the 49ers, Matt Swearad.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Goldmine Live here on this Monday afternoon from the Student Union on campus. And the Charlotte 49ers getting ready to go back on the road as they'll take on this week Marshall this coming Saturday. It's an afternoon game up in Huntington, West Virginia. And a quick note, don't forget basketball season starts this week as well. Got the first men's game tomorrow night against Chattanooga at Halton Arena. And then the women on Thursday against Asheville, I believe. And both those games tip off at 7. We are joined as always on Monday by Coach Brad Lambert, Al Wallace as well. Coach, good to see you. Hope you're doing well.
I'm doing well. Good to see you. That was quite the feat there. Appreciate your effort. And that was impressive. I
feel like I've just gone through a workout with Coach Durning for a little information to pass along. I'm sweating because missed a piece of equipment in our bag and had to go down to the equipment truck, which is down to the football stadium, and did it in about 7 minutes.
That was impressive.
Got a big assist by Sean Fox, but we pulled it off.
Yeah, it was impressive. I like it.
So coming off the game against Tennessee on Saturday, it was a trip. A lot of Niner fans made that trip, Coach, and it was an enjoyable weekend for them, seeing us go up against a team in the SEC. Didn't get the win, but, boy, you guys competed and really showed that this team is making a lot of progress.
Yeah, I thought the kids played extremely hard. Made some good plays along the way. Had an opportunity there a couple times to have a chance to win the game, and we came up a little bit short. But impressive. The band was there. We had a good fan base there, so that was really encouraging for our team. And just appreciate everybody that came to the game. But the kids, they were really down after the game. We were all disappointed because we had that thing where we thought we had a chance to win it, and we just didn't finish it off.
That's the thing now. You've got the program to the point where you go on the road in a place like that, and you go in with the thought, we want to win this football game, and you gave yourselves a lot of opportunities to do just that. So there was disappointment after the game, but a lot to build on because still 3 weeks left in the regular season, all in conference now, at Marshall, home against FIU, at FAU. And sitting at 4-5, got to get 2 of these next 3 to get bowl eligibility, but it's right there for the taking.
Yeah, I think, you work all year since January to put yourself in a position where November means a lot, and our guys have done a good job of that. And so here we are. We got to go out and prepare extremely well this week, go against a Marshall football team that's got a lot of good players on the road in a tough environment again. This won't be an easy task either, but our guys will, continue to do what they've done, have a good week of preparation, and I think that's always the key. They came out yesterday, and one key coming out of a game like when you go on the road and play an SEC team like Tennessee, how do you come out of the game physically? Are you beat up? Did you lose another guy? And came out of the game pretty healthy, and that was good as we move through the next game and get ready to go on the road at Marshall.
Coach, how do you process that loss, that just tough fight that you had there against Tennessee, and get ready? Do you move on pretty quickly, or you kind of use that as a building block, some momentum going into the last 3 games?
Well, I think it adds to our confidence. I think we have a confident football team. We feel like we can go out and play with people. We've got to finish games and go get a win on the road. I mean, we're going to have to win on the road to take the next step. And so our next opportunity is Marshall. But I think going on the road against Tennessee, playing well, adds to our confidence. I think we have, like I said, a confident group, and they're anxious to get back out there yesterday. And we watched the video, learned from some mistakes that we made, and try to continue to get better and keep that preparation as we move here in the last 3 games.
And you talked about the road games and needing to win on the road coming up here. What did you see on film from Tennessee that you can take that you played so well on the road?
Well, I think just how hard the guys played. I mean, you could tell they prepared well. They defensively, they just couldn't run the ball. And that's what I didn't know going into the game, if we could control the running game, because they're pretty good at running back, the big offensive line. So I thought our guys came out, played extremely well in the defensive front, and kind of controlled the running game. And that was real critical for us. And the flip side of that is I knew it'd be uphill on the other side of the ball because of their defensive front. And what you end up seeing during that game is two pretty good defensive fronts going at it. And, they made a couple more plays than we did. One in the special teams that was, a backbreaker for us, ended up being that. And we couldn't convert those fourth downs to keep the drive alive and get the ball in the end zone. So give them credit. I mean, they came out and played extremely hard, and both teams going at it pretty good. And so we got a lot to build on, and I think our guys can take that and continue to get better.
You were worried about their speed a little bit. We saw the punt return by Callaway for 82. But one thing Al mentioned, having played special teams, when you have a play like the one we had, punt inside the 6, but there's a penalty, all those guys just ran down the field. A lot are playing defense. Now you got to do it again. And against a guy like Callaway, you give him a little bit of an inch, and he can make you pay for it, and he did. Yeah,
and it just takes a couple guys taking a bad angle or not being quite in the right place, and a guy like that can really hurt you. I thought about in that moment taking the timeout. I'm just real adverse to wasting timeouts because they're so valuable at the end of the half and at the end of the fourth quarter. So I try not to waste them. And my thought was, hey, we'll punt it again. I knew we were in the wrong formation, but we'll punt it again. No big deal. And we just punt a little bit too far to the field. A couple guys just out of their lane just a little bit, and all of a sudden, he got it on the run and was really rolling with it.
Did you like the way the team kind of regrouped, though? Down 14-0. They had that really nice drive, long drive right before the half. You get the 3 by Jonathan Cruz. You had a chance at the 7, but you get the 3, and you're right back in the game with that because you get the ball to start the third quarter, and it's a football game.
Yeah, and that was kind of the dilemma on fourth and whatever it was, 3 down there or 4, whatever it was. Because you think in that moment about going for it to get the touchdown. You're on the road against an SEC team, but I knew we were getting the ball coming out of the half, and I didn't want to come out of there empty. And so just weighing that thought of on the way down there, do I go for it on fourth down? Some of the numbers would have told us to go for it. I made the decision. Basically, I didn't want our guys to have that empty feeling going into the half. I wanted something positive going into the half. I thought that was a good drive. We come out there with points. We get the ball in the second half. So, it's a 2-score game, 11-point game. So you're like, okay, we can make this work. We got 2 quarters to find a way, and I liked the way our defense was playing. I thought they had the thing under control from a run game standpoint at the half. So just went and got to 3, and then see where we can go from here.
We both also felt on that drive where there was the initial fumble by Benny LeMay that he was down, and the ruling later said that he was down. We thought right away that he had been down. It shouldn't have been a fumble.
Sure.
The amount of time it took to look at that, it really hurt the momentum because you guys were moving.
Yeah, you in some ways you probably can say that, but we're not a hurry up get. That's not who we are on offense. So, it was a chance for everybody to, hey, look, we got this thing moving. Let's regather our thoughts here. How do we, what's our play call? What are we going to do next? As they go through that replay, and I wasn't sure if he was down, so you had to have your defense ready. So you never know how they're going to rule on those. So I didn't think it upset us too much. So the way the flow of the game was going, it was a pretty slow game. They were using the clock, we were using the clock, so it wasn't like it was a hurry up game at all.
And Benny LeMay continues to impress. This kid just runs so hard every time he has an opportunity to run the ball, and that offensive line is blocking great. What's the message to them? What do they take away from doing that against Shy Tuttle, some of those big defensive line Tennessee has up front?
Yeah, it's been impressive based on who we're having to do it against.
Yeah.
Whether it's Middle Tennessee or Southern Mississippi, you're talking about run defenses that are really stout, and Tennessee's the same way. People have, they get after people every week, and then now you throw on the Marshall film, and I don't think they've given up a run of 20 yards yet. I mean, maybe one. So through 10 games or 9 games I think they've been through. So another group we got to try to block and run the ball against. This group's been impressive. Southern Miss didn't have many yards against them either, and they're really good rushing defense. So once again, Benny's going to have to play well. He's really done it. He played, I think, 47 snaps in the game, ran it 24 times. He's been a workhorse for us, and really proud of him. And we blocked him good in spots, and in spots we didn't. So, I didn't like the, we kind of got whipped on 4th and 1 down there, late in the game, and I went for it on 4th down, and you don't get many chances to get down there. So we're like, okay, let's just go and try to. We had to get the 8 points, so. There's some thought to kicking the field goal there, then, try to get the ball back one more time. But it's hard to get the ball in the red zone on the road against a good football team. And so we had it down there, so I was like, we can make a yard here and give Tennessee credit. They kind of blew us up front. We didn't make it.
Yeah, we've seen Evan Sheriffs also in that running game make some really quick decisions on whether to tuck the ball and run and use his legs and gain a couple first downs. He's
gotten better at that. If it's not open, instead of holding it and trying to scramble side, east and west, so to speak, he really has made a decision, pulled it down, made a couple first downs, caught him in man coverage one time, and ran for a first down. So he's done better at that.
Let's take our first time out of the show, and we'll come back with more Gold Mine Live with head coach Brad Lambert as we continue from the Student Union on campus on this Monday afternoon. This is Gold Mine Live on the Charlotte IMG Sports Network.
If you want a car from a company that's been building them for 115 years, get a Ford. If you want Waze and Amazon Alexa compatibility, get a Ford. If you want a car that doesn't have any of that, get anything but a Ford. Otherwise, you're going to want a Ford.
Right now, get a 2018 F-150 with 0 for 72 or $11,790 in total savings. Only at your Carolina Ford dealer.
Well, welcome back to Gold Mine Live here at the Student Union on this rainy Monday. The Niners getting set for another game on the road this week, going to Huntington, West Virginia, a place that Coach Lambert knows an awful lot about, to take on the Marshall Thundering Herd. And, Coach, we went there a couple of years ago, and it was an emotional game, and we got that fantastic win. That might have been the first marquee win this program had in its young time of a Division I football team. Going back there again, we're not going to surprise them, and they're playing well, and they're trying to get bowl eligible, so it's going to be a dogfight.
Yeah, it's a couple of years ago we went up there. You're probably right. The win at Georgia State, our first FBS win. And then going up there with all the tradition and wins that place has had over the years, that was a good win for us. So yeah, there won't be any, easing in there and taking them by surprise. I promise you that. Doc will have them ready. They got a good football team, and they got a lot of playmakers. There's some kid named Brady that got us last year here in Charlotte. So they've got a couple of really good wideouts, like their running backs, good offensive line. The impressive thing is their defensive front. I mean, just really physical up front, good linebackers, just, a tough front seven to try to run the ball on. And then they got a safety in Gant that's, he's as good as anybody's playing with. So they create a lot of problems for you, but it'll be a lot of fun. It'll be another good environment. They love their football in Huntington, that's for sure.
They sure do. And this is week 10, so it's tough to come up with something new to surprise somebody, but you're always trying to develop something each week in practice. Last week against Tennessee, we saw the Wildcat, the direct snap, a lot for the first time this year. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we just wanted to, try to throw them off a little bit and run the ball, get the quarterback out of the way, and just direct snap it to Benny or Amac. What we got to do this week is get Hassan involved. He didn't play in the game. I want to get him in the game more. So we got to get Hassan involved in the game, use his athleticism. So that'll be the wrinkle this week, is how we get Hassan involved in the game and use his, use his athleticism to try to move the ball and run the ball. And so hopefully we can get that done this week.
Yeah, tough defensive front. So you put that running quarterback in there, kind of, makes them pay attention on the backside of keeping that. How can he change the game? We've seen him get in there a couple of times and just really disrupt what they want to do on defense because he's so athletic.
He is, and I think what we got to do is utilize his arm too. He has the ability to throw the ball, and he's played a lot of football, so I think he creates an issue for you on defense. Anytime you're playing a quarterback that can run the ball, you have to account for that, and it's one more number you got to commit to the box, and so that creates a problem for you when you have a guy that can really run the ball, and so hopefully we can generate some offense that way.
defensively, you hold Tennessee to 192 yards of total offense. When you do it once or twice, okay, you had some success. You're doing it every week now. What, as you look at this defense, being a defensive guy, what have you seen that's been the really big step you've taken this year? Because, right now, number one in Conference USA against the run and one of the tops in the country, and you're doing it week in and week out. Yeah, I think one of the big things, is how hard our guys are playing on defense. Up front, the guys are in position. They're not out of their gaps. They got to continue that, playing hard, being in the right place, and then making tackles. Ben DeLuca came up, made a lot of good tackles Saturday from an off position against a team that you worried about that. Can we tackle these guys in the open field? And I thought our defense tackled extremely well and limited some plays. And big plays, you've heard me say it many times on this show, like big plays are always a result of missed tackles somewhere. And so, we've done a pretty good job of tackling. I've been really proud of the guys, how hard they're playing and how well they're tackling in the open field.
We can probably put this on repeat. We're talking about Alex Highsmith and the energy and the effort that he brings. How impressed are you about being able to consistently play with that effort all season? Yeah, it's impressive, Al. It's really impressive how hard that guy's playing. It's not surprising when you see how hard he works. Since he's gotten here, as a walk-on, that was he didn't just have the goal of getting a scholarship, and his goal is to be the best every day, and you see it in the way he approaches his schoolwork, the way he approaches his community service, the way he approaches football. I mean, that's who he is, and that's infectious. When your best players are your hardest working players, that goes along with your football team, and Alex is the epitome of that, and just a lot of respect and admiration for how he lives his life and works every day. It's impressive to watch. Yeah, there are so many leaders on this team, and I think I was talking to Mike Hill at the Panthers game yesterday about how can you pick 4 guys to be the captains with all those just such great kids. Yeah, there's a lot of guys that could, and that's why just because you have captains, that's not just the leaders on your football team. Tyler Fain's done a phenomenal job. He's a senior that's really done a good job this year of leading our football team. Alex Highsmith, and there's different ways to lead. Leadership really just is influence. How are you influencing those in your circle and around you? And we've got a lot of guys influencing in the right way and on both sides of the ball. And some are young guys, some are old guys, and the guys have done a really good job of that. Been impressed with that. So many guys came back this year from the defense a year ago, but there was that unknown factor. How is it, just because you're older doesn't mean you're going to be any better. But now we know this group and the success they've put together. They've still got a whole year together going forward. Guys like Jeff Gemmell, talk about leaders like that. As good as Alex Highsmith's been, he's got guys around him that are also rising to the occasion week in, week out. And each week, Gemmell's making tackles behind the line of scrimmage and getting to the quarterback. Yeah, and then you throw in a senior like Jawan Foggy, who's producing at a high level. Tyreek, we've asked him to do. Tyreek Harris is playing DN. He's playing middle linebacker. And you have to give a lot of credit to Glenn. Coach Spencer's really done a good job of putting the guys in position to take advantage of some stuff. And the kids have done a good job of executing it. You can have a plan. You always have a plan, but you got to go out and execute the plan. The guys have done a really good job of executing and making plays when they have the opportunity. But there's a number of guys that, how about a guy like Nafis Lyon, hasn't played a lot. Due to injury, gets his opportunity. He was one of our players of the game Saturday. He and Alex Highsmith just made a lot of plays for us, and so those two guys were, kind of our defensive players of the week. And so we got a number of guys stepping up, and we'll have to continue that as we move forward. I was going to mention the fee. Seems like we're calling his name an awful lot, too, in each passing week. One thing that we didn't have Saturday was Victor Tucker being hurt. Rico Arnold stepped up. I thought did a really nice job. But, what's the status? It's still only Monday, going forward with Victor. Yeah, I expect Victor to be back this week. He's day-to-day. He's, nursing about 3 different injuries. So, it's good. He got the weekend off. Just kept getting treatment, and he's worked extremely hard in the training room to get back, and that's all we ask of our guys. Injuries are part of our game you can't control. So, but what you can control is the treatment and the rehab, and how hard do you work at it. And so it's just like practice. You got to go in there and hit it head on, and Vic's done a good job of that. So hopefully we'll get him back. He's day-to-day right now, and kind of anticipate him being back by the end of the week. Yeah, and with his absence, you see the tight ends, R.J. Tyler, obviously Chris Phillips, having an opportunity to score a touchdown down late in the half. Those guys have become more active in the passing game.
They have, and they've done a real good job blocking as well. They just more part of our offense. And Rico, like you said, Rico stepped up, had some good catches. That was a tough spot for Rico to get your first start in Knoxville. So I think getting that first catch, I think he was a little tentative there, and then that really kind of propelled him on, like, okay, I'm going to be okay, and so I thought he ended up doing some good things for us, as we move through the game.
And with his speed, the yards after the catch, too, really big, and I'm sure will be a big factor going forward with his success, as he's just a true freshman this season with the 49ers. We'll take a timeout. One of our players joining us this week is Kyle Corbett, and Niner punter set a school record against Tennessee with a punt, 75 yards. We'll talk to Kyle coming up as we're back in a moment on Goldmine Live on the Charlotte IMG Sports Network.
If you want a car from a company that's been building them for 115 years, get a Ford. If you want Waze and Amazon Alexa compatibility, get a Ford. If you want a car that doesn't have any of that, get anything but a Ford. Otherwise, you're going to want a Ford.
Right now, get a 2018 F-150 with 0 for 72 or $11,790 in total savings, only at your Carolina Ford dealer.
And welcome back to Goldmine Live as we're here at the Student Union on this Monday afternoon. Don't forget, the men's soccer team is going to host the Conference USA Men's Soccer Championships this week, starting on Wednesday at Transamerica Field. Tell you more about that coming up in a little bit. And again, basketball season starts tomorrow with the men playing Chattanooga and the women on Thursday hosting UNC Asheville, both games at Halton Arena. Well, our guest right now is punter Kyle Corbett, sophomore from Pinehurst, North Carolina. Kyle, great to see you. How you doing today?
Wonderful. How you doing?
Good, good. And you against Tennessee, that must have been some kind of a thrill. The 75-yard punt set a new Niners record, breaking the old one of Arthur Hart, which was 74 yards.
Yep,
you got him by one now. What was that like? You hit the heck out of that ball.
Oh, that was, I mean, it's an experience like no other, especially, going again, I could play in front of 88,000 people, I believe the attendance said. Neyland Stadium, one of the most historied, stadiums in America. And, going there with the guys, I couldn't have done it without the guys in front of me, blocking for me in the shield, and my long snapper, Brian McDonough. But, it's great and all to have a record. To me, though, it's not a personal record. It's so much as the team record, because without the team and without the position I was in, without them backing me up, without them supporting me throughout this entire season, I couldn't have been in the position that I was to do what I did. And, it's great and all to say that, it's going to say longest punt in Charlotte history so far, Kyle Corbett, 75 yards. But to me, it's going to say longest punt in Charlotte history, 75 yards, Charlotte football team, 2018.
You were with Arthur Hart last year. What did you take from Arthur? What did you learn from Arthur? Because he was a tremendous – he might have been our team MVP last year.
Oh, he was. He, learning from Arthur Hart, because I came here 2 years ago as a redshirt freshman, and they asked me to punt and kick, and I've been doing all three ever since. And but they've had me focus more on punting, especially last year and this year. From learning from Arthur Hart, it's just about, remaining calm in situations that may seem to overwhelm most people, especially like, treat every game as if there's nobody in the stands, whether it be, we're here at Charlotte and there's 15,000, we're playing upstate, there's 19,000, or we're Neyland Stadium and there's 88,000, treat every kick like it's the same, try to keep a cool level head. And, I'm sure if you saw the game, I exactly, was pretty over the top, overwhelmed with my punt, and I was over there like screaming and jumping, but, it's exciting. And, taking it from Arthur, just trying to remain level-headed in every single situation I'm put in, just trying to be that guy and be somebody that the team can rely on and be accountable, remain humble and focused. And he's just a great mentor to me, and I couldn't be in the position I am without him. So.
Now, Kyle, the big kicks are super exciting, but how good does it feel when you can drop one inside the 20, inside the 5? How good does those
kicks
feel?
Those are the kicks you live for, being able to pin a team down inside the 20, trying to flip the field, especially, from, like I said, this past 75-yard, kicked it from the, I think, 13 on our side. We were at the 21-yard line, kicked from the 13 inside the 5. Being able to flip the field, especially in a big-time situation like that, I believe there were like 9 or 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter, is awesome. I mean, it's something that every kid and every punter dreams about, because you get to put your defense in position to stop them, get the offense back the ball in a good field position, and try to get it down for a score. So, it's something that you always dream about.
Tell us about the rugby-style kick. you've been doing that a lot this year. That's an art form. It's not easy to do.
Yes.
How long did it take you to pick it up?
You know, we practiced it a lot over the spring, going into fall camp too. It's it's tough trying to do it because you have to drop the ball differently. You know, punting and kicking, as you know, with Jonathan Cruz, who's doing a heck of a job this season. Punting and kicking is all about a game of inches because it's an oblong ball. You're trying to kick the ball at the exact spot to get the best type of ball, the best strike. And if you miss it by even a fraction of a centimeter, it's going to go the way you don't want it to. But rugbying for us is really based off, the return team, our coverage team, how we want to run it. So, if the other team's got a great returner, we want to keep the ball on the ground, so where he's got to make that decision, and it's a 50-50 shot. Because, that ball could get a great bounce, it could get a bad bounce, and it could stop right there, and he won't be able to return it. It could get a good bounce, go over his head. So it's really, it's trying to put the returner in a bad situation. It's trying to get him to make that decision, and, it's something that you've got to really practice on. We work on it more than anything, and I think it's put us in good positions this year. We've had some bad luck with it too, and that's obviously on me, but we've also had some great luck with it too, and it's actually helped us get into some good situations for the game, get us in good situations for putting points on the board for our defense to get a stop. So yeah, it's great for us.
You mentioned Jonathan Cruz, and he was the Special Team Player of the Week in Conference USA last week with the big kick to beat Southern Miss. You're up for the award this week. Yeah. I voted for you, so we'll see if you come through later today with that. And but you guys have a special bond now. You're friends, first of all, but now you're his holder because of injuries. You're his holder. How much work do you guys put in together to make sure that flies each week with no problems?
With me and Cruz at the beginning of the year, he came in, and obviously right off the bat, we were competition first. We wanted to compete with each other. I wanted to make him better. He wanted to make me better. He earned the job, and he did it with flying colors. The first day in, I saw him kick a field goal, and I knew this kid was something special. I've never seen a kid with such a God-given talent kick the ball that high and that far. As you guys know from the season, I think, he's 11 for 16 on the season. He's banged a couple 50-yarders. He's hit some crucial kicks in good situations for him. The kid's awesome, and throughout the season we've gotten closer and closer with each other. Each week when we travel to away games, when we're here for home games, we go stay in the hotel with each other. We hang out all the time. He's a really great kid, and with all these injuries that have happened, I have become his holder, and that has been something that has even strengthened our bond, because we already have that friendship. And being a previous kicker, I kicked here last year for I think 5 or 6 extra points or something like that, and a field goal here and there, but I know what the kicker wants because I've got that mentality. I know he wants the ball turned this certain way. I know he wants it lean just because it exposes the best side of the ball. So with that in my mind, with our relationship, being as strong as it is, and regardless, even if it wasn't me, if it was somebody like a wide receiver, I think Cruz would still hammer it from about 55. The dude is absolutely insane. Probably one of the best kickers I've ever seen.
Kind of like the long snapper, a holder, you never get mentioned unless something goes wrong.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of stress in that position, isn't there?
Absolutely, yeah. It takes a lot more than just one person. Obviously, a field goal is one of the weird plays in the game where all eyes are on one person. They're always on the kicker. Now, it has to start from the long snapper. From there, it goes to the holder. From there, it goes to the kicker. So the kicker's got to rely on 2 other people to do their jobs basically to the perfection, because like I said earlier, it's a game of centimeters for us. They've got to do their job as best as they can to perfection in order for him to make it through. And so you have very little margin for error, and once that margin of error comes in, it obviously plays a lot. But I think we've practiced it, repped it enough, to do as good as we can, and he's doing a great job for us this season. Brian McDonough, again, doing a phenomenal job for us this season, leading us as a senior starter for us. It's absolutely it's a privilege to be with him and working with him too. He's doing a great job for us, and so is Jack. Jack Wanhofer being the snapper too. Looking forward to see what he does for us too, and it's awesome. The stress does come with holding, but as soon as I know Cruz is back there, I know he's going to put it through for us. I know. I have full faith in that kid.
Now, there's 3 phases of football, and special teams, obviously, one of those. How important is it to, all the special teams guys and that are out there, that group of guys, to uphold their end of the bargain, make sure this team is in good position to win?
Exactly, yeah. So, Coach Lambert has preached on it, and the whole one of the main reasons I came here was because of the family atmosphere and the fact that Coach Lambert emphasizes that every aspect of the game is a third of the game. There's no one thing. Like offense isn't 50%, defense isn't 45%, and special teams is 5%. It's offense is a third of the game, defense is a third of the game, special teams is a third of the game. They emphasize everything to an extent, like to the perfect extent to where everything is equal, because they want the guys on offense to be just as good as the guys on defense, to be just as good as the guys on special teams. So we have guys who, like Coach recognized this past week on Special Teams Player of the Week for the team, A.J. McDonald. You know, he's an upcoming guy. He's a veteran, been here for a couple of years. You know, he's contributed on defense a bunch, but he has really stepped up and contributed, phenomenally as a leader on the punt return team, on kickoff too. He's had some amazing hits. He does reads and stuff for us on the special teams, has really embraced that role. And, to have these guys who are, coming in, especially as walk-ons like Christian Haynes, Will Graham, these guys who come in and understand their role and really take to heart what they do. That's something that is phenomenally special and something that you can't find anywhere else in Charlotte, and it's awesome. It's awesome to look at. It's awesome to be a part of.
Talking to punter Kyle Corbett. One more question before we let you go, Kyle. Away from football, we hear that, I know you like to play golf from Pinehurst, but ping pong, I here's your game.
Oh, man. Yeah, listen, so if I say that I'm the best ping pong player, I'm sure there's about 3 other guys who are going to tell me they're better. But for all intents and purposes, since they're not right here right now, and I don't know if they're going to hear this, I'm the best ping pong player, and as far as you guys are concerned, I think we can hold that between us. Can we do that?
We got it.
That's
Sounds
what I'm
good.
Talking about.
Kyle, thanks so much, man. Really appreciate it. Good luck this weekend, against Marshall, and the rest of the season.
Thanks so much.
Kyle Corbett's been our guest, sophomore punter for the Niners from Pinehurst, North Carolina. Back with more Gold Mine Live with head coach Brad Lambert coming up on the Charlotte IMG Sports Network.
If you want a car from a company that's been building them for 115 years, get a Ford. If you want Waze and Amazon Alexa compatibility, get a Ford. If you want a car that doesn't have any of that, get anything but a Ford. Otherwise, you're gonna want a Ford.
Right now, get a 2018 F-150 with 0 for 72 or $11,790 in total savings, only at your Carolina Ford dealer.
Welcome back to Gold Mine Live here in the Student Union this week with head coach Brad Lambert and Al Wallace. I'm Matt Swarant. The Niners getting set to go to Huntington, West Virginia. They'll take on the Marshall Thundering Herd coming up this Saturday at 2:30 in the afternoon. Our pregame show will start at 1:30 on Saturday. A lot going on this week, though, on campus. Got the soccer tournament starting on Wednesday at Transamerica Field. That's the Conference USA Soccer Tournament hosted by the Niners. Right now, the Niners 19th in the country, and they have not given up a goal the entire season at home. It's been phenomenal what they've done at Transamerica Field. They're going to play in the quarterfinals on Wednesday. That's at 7 o'clock Wednesday night. They take on the Blazers of UAB. The semifinals on Friday. The championship game is going to be at 1 o'clock on Sunday. 3 of the top 25 in the country are in this field, folks. So if you got some chances, some opportunities to get out here to watch, please take advantage of that starting on Wednesday. Volleyball is playing for a spot in the Conference USA Tournament. The regular season finale is going to be at home on Friday against Marshall. And again, basketball starts tomorrow night. UT Chattanooga taking on the men at 7 at Halton. And then on Wednesday, UNC Asheville will take on the women at Halton at 7 o'clock. Men's basketball back in action against Oklahoma State on Saturday. But at the same time, we're playing football. So you can go to the basketball game, put the football game on the radio, and listen to both. And, of course, on Sunday, Wofford is going to be the opponent for the women Sunday afternoon at Halton. A lot going on, Coach.
Yeah.
Did you get all that?
Yeah, sounds like we need to hire the defensive coordinator from our soccer team. Like, they don't want to give up any
They
goals.
don't give up any points.
Like, we need that guy, right? Huh? Get Coach over there and have him put that defense in.
They are playing awfully well right now. It should be a great tournament starting on Wednesday. I know the Dig Pink game a couple of weeks ago, the football team was there in full force for that.
Yeah, it's always fun to get our guys, just go watch other sports play. I love watching basketball. Kara, Coach Sanchez, all those guys. Our guys have went out to the soccer games, and so love going to baseball in the spring. So it's always fun to go watch the other guys compete and cheer them on, and hopefully that helps in the environment and they play well. I think the volleyball team's undefeated when the guys go in there, so we need to keep coming.
Man, I can't pull that off on Friday, though. We'll be in Marshall, so well, hopefully they do well against Marshall on Friday night. Again, that game's at Halton, playing for a spot in the Conference USA Tournament. We go to Marshall for a game on Saturday. One of the players we didn't talk about in that last segment is Anthony Butler back from injury and made some plays against Tennessee, and good to get him healthy and back on that defense.
Yeah, I was really proud of Anthony. You know, he's been, you know, bothered by that ankle injury, and we couldn't really run and push off. And I thought he came back and tackled really well. You know, I think he's done a good job of studying and preparing in the training room. And so when he came back, I just was really proud of how he came out and played Saturday, made some good open field tackles. You know, on the flea flicker, like, he was the reason the ball looked like a punt when it hung up in the air so long. He really put a nice hit on the quarterback, really violent hit, and I thought he did a good job. He made some good plays for us. It was good to have him back. And now, you know, Luke Martin's been in there playing a lot, so now you can spell those guys. They don't have to play every snap. You know, Luke was in a situation where he was having to play every snap, and before that, Anthony had played a bunch because Luke hadn't played, and then injury forced you to play a guy. And so now you feel like you've built some depth in there, and so that helps us.
You mentioned that flea flicker play. The ball was up in the air, and they ended up making the catch downfield. But let's go back to a couple of weeks ago. You said we need to get better at forcing field goals in the red zone. And the defense just, okay, we gave up a big play, had some good things happen during that big play, but you still get back there and you force the field goal attempt. They miss the field goal and they come up with nothing.
Yeah, and that's, you know, we've gotten better at that as the season's gone along, whether we're turning people over like Southern Miss in the red zone or forcing a field goal or forcing a missed field goal. You know, the guys have really gotten better at that. We have to continue that as we move through the back end of this schedule because you're playing a good offense here this week in Marshall, and they know how to get in the end zone, and they've got two guys on the outside that they can just throw the ball to. You know, Garantano made a really good throw to the wideout on the fade route down in the end zone. You know, it was a really good throw. I mean, it was a good throw and a good catch. DJ's in pretty good position. He's competing, and you know, sometimes they do that. And this group this week with Brady on the outside, that creates some problems for you in the red zone. So our guys are going to have to raise up and make some plays down in the red zone. And
Nafees Lyon is a guy we mentioned earlier in the show and how well he stepped up in kind of earning that starting job. We talked the running game has been so good, a defensive running attack. He's a really good cornerback when it comes to the run game, being out there at the cornerback position.
He really has made a lot of tackles for us. You know, he's a good tackler in the open field, and you know, even a swing route or anything like that, getting up the field and making a good tackle, putting his eyes on the thigh board, and really doing a good job of wrapping up and making plays. I've been proud of him and things that he's doing. He's been really productive for us on the defensive side.
And Ed Rowe's another guy that his role has kind of changed a little bit. We see him, he's really active, a lot of blitzing, a lot of tackles down inside the box.
Yeah, he's gotten better at tackling. That's one of the things I got frustrated with him early in the year. He missed some tackles early in the year, and I think he's really focused in. And, you know, Quay Gibbs got a couple starts in front of him, and then he got the start at Tennessee. So it's been good for both of those guys to compete. They all want to play, and so you need to practice well, you need to prepare well, and then when you have an opportunity to make those tackles, I think Eddie's gotten better at that. I've been proud of him.
Got two more breaks to get in, so let's take one right now. Back with more Gold Mine Live with Coach Brad Lambert as the Niners get set to take on Marshall this week on the road in Huntington. Again, this is Gold Mine Live on the Charlotte IMG Sports Network.
If you want a car from a company that's been building them for 115 years, get a Ford. If you want Waze and Amazon Alexa compatibility, get a Ford. If you want a car that doesn't have any of that, get anything but a Ford. Otherwise, you're going to want a Ford.
Right now, get a 2018 F-150 with 0 for 72 or $11,790 in total savings, only at your Carolina Ford dealer.
Next up, the Niners is Marshall. That's coming up this Saturday. Both teams right now 3-2 in Conference USA. We're back with head coach Brad Lambert. Niners right now in the East Division at 3-2, tie with Marshall for third place. Middle Tennessee 5-1. FIU suffering their first loss this weekend to FAU in the Shula Bowl, and they're 4-1. We got FIU coming up in a couple of weeks. So really right now, Coach, a logjam atop the East Division in Conference USA. And you look at recent results. Southern Miss gets by Marshall this past weekend in a close one at Southern Miss. And when we beat the Golden Eagles a couple of weeks ago, got a big pick six by Juwan Foggy. That was 79 yards. There was a score on defense by Southern Miss that helped them beat Marshall this last weekend.
Yeah, both they had both teams scored non-offensive touchdowns, and that was a huge play toward the end of the half. Southern Miss scores. Marshall comes back out in the first play. They get a sack fumble and run it in. So within 11 seconds, they went down to up. They were down 10-7 or 10-3, and all of a sudden they look up at 17-10. Huge swing in the game. It's just, week after week you're playing against good defenses and productive defenses. So once again, this will be another good challenge for our offense going in here into Huntington, try to see if we can move the ball on these guys. And
you look at the league right now, UAB is atop the West Division. They're 6-0. We played them at their place. We know how good they are, and they're really playing some good football right now.
They are, and they're really playing impressive on the defensive side. Everybody's having a hard time moving the ball on them, as we did that night. They've got a big defensive front. There's another defense, you're trying to move the ball against. They got a big game, toward the end. I think the last game of the year they played Middle Tennessee, so that'll be a really good test for them playing against Stock. If he'll go in there and move the ball on them, I'm sure. So that'll be a good game toward the end of the year.
I want to congratulate, too, UTEP. It's been a while. They got a win this last weekend. I think it snapped a 20-game losing streak, and it must have felt good to get that win. They beat Rice.
Yeah, I'm sure Coach Dimmel and them are really fired up because they've been close every week. We've had them on a couple of, we had them on Tennessee film. They played pretty well against Tennessee, early in the year. They played well there, so they've been really close. Louisiana Tech's a 3-point game. I think North Texas might have been a 3-point game, and so they finally broke through and got the win. So happy for those guys.
So we've got Marshall coming up, and we talked about what they're like and being at their place, great atmosphere, and both teams at 3-2. Let's look at the Bojangles Bowtime biggest challenge for the Niners going up against the Herd this weekend.
Well, I know I probably sound like a broken record, but I think the challenge is, can we run the ball on a defense that doesn't let you run the ball? They've just not let anybody run the ball this year. Like I said, I think they're the longest run they've given up maybe 1 of 20 yards. So they do a good job of stopping the run, and I think that'll be a really big challenge for us is to get the ball moving, because that's what we want to do on the ground. And then, once again, on the other side of the ball, they're just so good at wideout. They got this kid Obi on one side and Brady on the other side, and they're both 6'2" or 6'3" and big athletic guys. So they create some challenges for you. King's a really good running back. They got another good running back, 24, who's their kickoff return guy. They create some problems for you. So we'll have to keep the big plays under control, as we go in this game.
Coach, running game-wise, for you guys, what do you see one of your strengths being? Is it an outside run, some of the zone stretches, allowing Benny to kind of cut back as he sees some of the gaps opening up?
Yeah, we've had some success with those plays, trying to get on the perimeter, the stretch plays, things like that, and then you find a crease in there. That was, I can't remember what game, first play of the game we scored on was that play, getting out, getting them running. So I think that's probably a good run for us. Creating some misdirection stuff is another thing we've got to continue to do, whether that's counters or reverses or things like that, I think are something we've got to try to utilize to get the ball on the perimeter a little bit more.
Benny did a nice job on first down. Quite a few times picked up 4, 5, 6 yards against Tennessee.
Yes, and that's the real key. If you don't have lost yardage plays on first and second down, there's a real good chance you're going to make it on third down. So you got to avoid the false start penalties. That's the one thing I thought hurt us against Tennessee. You had to go to a silent count. So it's the first time all year we use silent count. You're in a loud environment. We turned the music up, practiced it. But we had a few false starts, and all of a sudden when it's 1st and 15 or 2nd and 14, when you put yourself behind, and that can be tough. And so we had 3rd and short one time, 3rd and 3 or 4, and then all of a sudden you get one. Now it's 3rd and long. You try to avoid those situations so you can have success on third down. So we got to continue on that track.
Let's take our last break of the show, come back and wrap things up as the Niners again head towards week number 10 of the football season. 3-2 right now in Conference USA. They take on Marshall on Saturday. This is Goldmine Live on the Charlotte IMG Sports Network.
If you want a car from a company that's been building them for 115 years, get a Ford. If you want Waze and Amazon Alexa compatibility, get a Ford. If you want a car that doesn't have any of that, get anything but a Ford. Otherwise, you're going to want a Ford.
Right now, get a 2018 F-150 with 0 for 72 or $11,790 in total savings. Only at your Carolina Ford dealer.
Welcome back. Final segment of Gold Mine Live. A reminder again, men's basketball starts tomorrow night. They host Chattanooga at 7 o'clock at Halton Arena. And the women get started on Wednesday against Asheville at Halton. Men back home on Saturday against Oklahoma State. The women on Sunday against Wofford. Men's soccer, the championship of Conference USA, starts this Wednesday here on campus. Niners take on UAB at 7. And then for volleyball, they take on Marshall Friday night at Halton for a spot in the Conference USA tournament. A lot going on campus this week. Football heading to Marshall. They'll play on Saturday afternoon. And coaches, we go back to Marshall. Got some players on our team that have some ties family-wise to the Thundering Herd. Yeah,
it's always fun to go back to Marshall. It's a tough place to play, and the people we got to play against, and the job Doc's doing up there has been phenomenal, and all the number of wins and all that. But there's a lot of guys that played for us. There'll be a lot of people at the game, former players, and we got 3 guys on our team. Coach Ratliff was here. His son Dylan's playing for us. Mike Bartram, he was a long snapper in the NFL for, I don't know, maybe 15 years, a long time. His son Cody plays for us. And then I don't know if he still is for a long time. Chris Parker was the all-time leading rusher in school history at Marshall, was a phenomenal running back for us. His son Caleb Parker is on our team, and it's been fun to reconnect with those guys in the recruiting process. And Caleb, I gave him a hard time yesterday. He got in the game against Tennessee, and he looks so much like his dad when he runs it. I almost call him Chris all the time because he runs the ball, and I think he's really going to be we're trying to redshirt him this year. He's really going to be a good running back for us. I'm excited about Caleb, but I told him the other day, if I call you Chris, don't take it personal, because you look like your dad. So a lot of those stories coming back. We'll connect. I don't know if Troy's going to be there. Troy Brown. We'll try to reconnect with him again. We got to see him at UMass. One of the all-time greats at Marshall. So been a lot of good players through there, and we'll get to see a lot of people, former players and guys that when we go back.
Coach, how does that type of legacy influence upcoming recruiting?
Yeah, I think it's big. That's what you're trying to teach our team here is, as we establish our program. I've talked to our team about elevating the jersey. It's like, how do you represent this jersey and this university, and is it better off when you leave than when you came? And I think that's the thing you're trying to establish, is build a program, and that's what they have at Marshall and Tennessee and these places. And we're such a young program, and that's what you're trying to establish. And some of the guys on our team, they have no idea who our first players are, from Matt Johnson to Jamal Covington. You throw those names out, they know Larry because he was drafted, but all the other guys, they don't have any idea who those guys are. So getting those guys to come back and, hey, look, they established this thing, so you have the opportunity that you have, and your job is to carry it on and win games and elevate the jersey. And so that's been our talk. And this is a program that's done that. Marshall's just sustained winning over time. They've really done a good job, and so that's why it's a tough place to go play. Because they've won at a high level.
And finally, we did win. We went there a couple of years ago. You got a group of players going back, these upperclassmen, these leaders that have experienced to win there and can tell these younger guys what it takes to get it. Yeah, no question. I mean, and that's the way they've been leading each week. They've just been staying in the moment and preaching that, and they've really done a good job of conveying that message to the young guys, and that's what it takes when you go on the road. To play well on the road, you got to just, close ranks and let's all go together. And they've done a good job of that. And they can tell them that, this is not going to be an easy task. Coach, thanks so much. Really appreciate it. And have a great week of practice this week. And we will see you in Huntington over the weekend. All right. Good to see you guys. Appreciate you. Head Coach Brad Lambert. Want to thank Kyle Corbett for being our guest this week. And again, he set a school record against Tennessee with a 75-yard punt against the Volunteers. For Al Wallace, I'm Matt Swearide. Don't forget, basketball tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. We'll tip it off at Halton against Chattanooga. Our pregame coverage will get started at 6:30 on the Charlotte IMG Sports Network. Soccer starts on Wednesday, women's basketball on Thursday, and volleyball again will be on Friday night. So long, everybody.